Shields up, Iron Breakers. Welcome back to another edition of the Kast. Today's guest is Dear Gamer. Dear Gamer, how you doing, dude?
Good, man. Happy to be here. Thank you for having me on the show.
I've been meaning to have you for a while, but it's just been one hell of a couple of chaotic weeks, and it seems like things have been chaotic for you as well. You were telling me earlier that you just became a father.
Yes, I have. For at least 5 months this week.
Congratulations, dude. That's absolutely insane, dude. That's one hell of a lifetime experience. I know from experience myself, so yeah.
Yeah, just juggling, trying to make sure I'm there supportive, getting some content out. It's just a balancing act, and my partner's great, so we just kind of tag team it.
The balance is like one of the hardest things when you become a father. That I know for a fact, dude. It's absolutely insane. But congratulations, it's still a fantastic thing, and very few things in this world can even compare that. So, yeah, really happy for you.
Absolutely.
So I figured I'd ask you, like, how did you get started on content creation, just to kind of like introduce you to the community a little bit, because obviously you've been around Monster Hunter for a while. I've seen a lot of your content. So how did you get started content creation?
Yeah, for me, it came back. I've been doing in the game now. It's like 9 years now. I'm doing content creation, but I started off because I was passionate about marketing. I was going to school for marketing, and I was passionate about doing something creative. And I've always been more analytical. So I was, hey, let me challenge myself to do something different. And that was at a time when the job market wasn't that great. So I said, well, what are some things I can start doing for myself? And I was like, well, I like marketing. I like growing things. And also I like play games. Like I was a big gamer growing up. I started with Super Nintendo, Street Fighter, had not all the consoles, but Nintendo 64, PlayStation. So I played a fair share of games. And I was like, well, why don't I just start doing the content? And I first started off with a website. I did a website, and I would make like articles around like gaming, covering more like IGN status.
Yeah.
And did a little bit of anime there, because I was just trying to figure out what my interests were. Then one of my friends was like, hey, you already do content. Why don't you just make videos? And I was like, well, I don't know about that. I'm not really I'm kind of like more of a shyer guy. I'm not sure about putting myself out there like that. Yeah, let's try it out. So I was like, okay, well, I'll try it. So then I went down a rabbit hole of all the videos of how to get started and what can you do, what you can't do, because back in the day, and that was still early when gaming, so there's a lot of like monetization, content being blocked, etc. So I was like,
oh yeah.
I was like, oh man, I'm nervous. Now it's like widely accepted, I would say, but back in the day, it was like companies were still identifying like, how do we utilize this whole YouTube Let's Play thing, and do we allow people to put our content up on YouTube? And so I had a little hesitation there.
That was really like back in the day, the situation where we were still navigating it and figuring out, are we actually allowed to upload this gameplay stuff, or is this kind of like movies? They're going to copyright us, and sometimes sometimes some publishers still copyright people if like they don't like what you're saying or something. They go and do that, but a lot of them have learned that that's usually a bad idea, because the community kind of like signal boosts off each other, and we start going like, hey, what the hell?
Exactly.
That's foul. You guys got to take this criticism, and you can't do anything about it. Stop. You can't start copyrighting people because it's wrong. But yeah, it was like back even in the Nintendo days, because you couldn't even have Nintendo music or Nintendo gameplay.
Yes.
That was insane.
Remember those days? That's I mean that was big. When was it? 4 or 5 years ago, when they finally allowed, you had to be under a special program.
You had to be in their program. You want to know a funny thing? So I actually had a meeting with the people that run Nintendo in Portugal. And I went there and I asked them, hey, would you guys be able to like get me codes for the games, and then I can like make videos about them and stuff like that? And they were like, yeah, we can do that. And then I also said, but I don't want to be a part of your content creator program. And it was funny because like the people, it's different departments, right, that handle all this stuff. Yes. So I knew that a lot of the actual first party Nintendo stuff was going to get copyright claimed, but I was like, that's fine. I don't care.
He's like, hey, let me do what I can.
I just want to do some stuff, and it's whatever. And they were cool with it. They were perfectly fine with it. So it was an interesting thing. But yeah, back in the day, it was a lot harder to do. So you're a little bit of an OG then. Yeah, that's cool. So what was like the first game that you got started making content for?
You know, it's funny because I always been a Souls player. I like before I recorded, I
Ah,
played. I Demon Souls was Demon Souls. Yeah, Demon Souls. What I was
Demon
currently
Souls was the
playing.
PS3.
Yeah, and I was playing that. And I always played that. I always played RPGs. I always did like me and my friends always found like, hey, how do you get the juiciest numbers and our builds? Like
Oh
as
yeah.
far as like get, I was always like a JRPG fan growing up, like Star Ocean, those games back in the day. Because I felt they got the most value for the game. You pay $40 for a game, $50, and you get like 200 an hour, $100 worth of gameplay.
Yeah.
But then we just started making like builds, and that's all I normally would do. Like, how do I get the best weapon? So when on YouTube, I saw, I think back when I started, it was a lot of PvP content because no, the game's already been out for a little while. So I was playing Bloodborne, and I was playing that in the current time, and I was like, hey, let me just put a video up on Bloodborne. I think my first video was a Witcher, so I was playing The Witcher. I put a video up on that, just like talking, like just talking and just getting comfortable with that space.
Yeah.
And Bloodborne is the one. After that, I went into Bloodborne, did a couple of episodes on that, and then like things started moving a little bit. I was like, hey, I'm getting a little bit of traction. I got like 30 views there. I was like, hey, that's pretty cool. So then I just stuck with it with that. And you know, it's starting out. You're just trying to. I turn around, look at my library. Okay, what do I have? And what can I like make some kind of videos out of? And then I just started like going through all the games I currently had. And then it's like, hey, I kind of like this niche of games. So I started playing like a lot more. I played Dark Souls. Then Dark Souls 3 came out, and that was like a big game for me initially in the channel. Then I played For Honor for a good period of time, like 3-4 years. Then I think after some time playing For Honor, I was like, man, I like this game, but at the same time, like sometimes I want to relax. It's like it
Yeah,
gets to the
like
point where it gets really sweaty.
For Honor was like giga sweaty. I remember I played the game when it came out, and I was like, "Oh, this is pretty fun. It's a nice little PvP game." And then I took a break. I came back a month later, and the whole focus was people just pushing you off the map. That was the whole thing. It was people just like coming in with the Viking with the pole arm or whatever, just like pushing you around and then yeeting you off the map. And I was like, "Oh wow, this game got really bad really fast. This is not fun anymore."
You know, it's so funny because I remember that was like season 2 where everyone was just legend. But also too, the game had like some issues with like connectivity beginning. Like what game does it these days?
Yeah.
So now I was like, let me try something else. The Monster Hunter World came out, and I was like, I've always seen this game like a massive gray sword on a cover like back in the day at 7-Eleven. They have like the Game Informer magazines. I was like, what is this game? So then I said, let me check it out. I looked at the videos of it. I was like, that's pretty cool. Then I started playing it. I was like, that was nice. Then I played it, and I was like a noob, so I stopped playing. And once I beat the game, I was like, I guess the game's done. And like, I was like, all right. Then one of my guy in my community in June, he was like, hey, come back to the game. Iceborne's coming out. There's a lot more stuff you didn't do. And I was like, oh, really? That's when I started getting into the real game. Like the end game monsters, the building your sets, the
so basically
farming.
You killed Xeno'jiva and you're like,
yes.
oh, I'm done.
Yes. And like really thinking about it now, I was like, oh, that's just the beginning.
Yeah, pretty much.
Then I came back into it. Then I started playing. I was like, oh, I really like this. And with Monster Hunter, you got to really identify like what your weapon is. Because I went through all the weapons, and once you find yours and it connects, then it's like game over.
Yep. And see, that's also another one of the reasons why you haven't been in the podcast sooner, because you're a filthy longsword main.
Hey, in Foresight we trust. That's the motto.
I will say, Foresight / that one is actually significantly harder than, say, what do you call it? The Yai Spirit Slash and Rise?
Yeah.
Yeah, that one is way easier. Like Foresight / though, that was one of those I was like, okay, this one's actually hard to pull off consistently. Like you can pull it off in some monsters, but then to do it consistently, I always thought, okay, this is one of those that is actually kind of hard. But the damage output of that weapon is absolutely redonkulous. It's so freaking good.
It's just a dance. I just love how like you just like boom boom counter boom boom, and then just the position is it feels good. And for me, like one thing I did while like we're in down season, went through and played the other weapons, and like ultimately every weapon is good. You just gotta spend some time to get used to them, their play style. But they did a really good job making like a full complete game. That's why I was like, let me play this for some time. And that's where from time to time when new games come out, like Elden Ring came out, I covered that. Lies of P. When other games come out, naturally I'm gonna cover them. But like those,
Yeah.
I think Monster Hunter is like the staple. Or hey, I'm gonna stay focused and close to this one.
Yeah, like for me, Monster Hunter was a game that I had played in the past, but it was one of those situations where you couldn't really cover it properly as a content creator unless you knew how to speak Japanese, because the game would always come out in Japan 1 year in advance.
Oh
And
my
so it, was
god!
like, it would
I heard
release in
about that.
Japan, and then 1 year later, then it would come out to the West, and you're like, well, by then, people
Everything's-
that actually know just a little bit of Japanese, they will have already made all of the videos, and the whole hype is dead. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense.
Exactly.
But I would still make videos about it because I played Try. Then eventually, a friend of mine got me hooked on Freedom Unite. Because like when I played Try the first time, I didn't like it at all because, like you, I also have a Souls background. So the whole notion of jumping into a map and then trying to go after a monster, and I was like, well, what about the small monsters that we kill as we go through a level? Because when you're going through a Souls level, you kill a bunch of minions and then eventually you get to the boss fight. And I was like, this one's just the boss fight. How does this work? This is so weird.
Yes.
I don't like this.
Yes.
So I was like, it didn't click with me at all the first time I played it. I played Try and I was like, I hate this. I don't understand. I had a friend of mine who was like super into Monster Hunter. He was the one who convinced me to buy it. And I was like, bro, this sucks. And then eventually he took me back because he didn't have a Wii. So he took me back. He had a PSP and I had a Vita. So I bought Freedom Unite on the Vita and it was compatible with the PSP version. We could play multiplayer. And that's how I actually learned the ins and outs. It's like, it's not about just killing stuff. You kill things, you craft, it improves, and then you go and you kill more and you craft, it improves, and all the other aspects. And I was like, oh, this is actually really, really cool. And that's when I played 3 Ultimate, played 4 Ultimate, and all of that stuff. But again, doing content was still rough because there was just not that much demand for content because the game would have been out for a year over on Japan. So when World came out, I was like, no, I'm coming in. Like, this is it. This is the one.
This is it. And it's so funny you say that because when I first played World, I was like, why did the monsters keep running away? As a Souls player, you're in it with you locked in. You're locked in with a boss, and you don't leave until one of you goes down. And I was like, why does this monster keep running away? What's happening here? I just didn't understand. I didn't like it for that part. But okay, now I go back and okay, I don't understand. It's the whole thing is a giant boss fight.
It's funny because we all think of it as boss fights, but the whole thing is more of a hunting experience as you're going through the whole thing. Which one did you think you enjoyed more, like the Rise Sunbreak or World and Iceborne?
It's hard because I love. It's hard because I love.
By the way, I'm sorry to interrupt, but did you go back and play GU? Because that one also came on the Switch. I don't know if you would have played that.
Yeah, I went back and that's how I was playing. I think I played that one 3 years ago. I played GU. Didn't finish it completely, but yeah, my journey was World, Iceborne, GU, then Rise, and Stories, and now we're here.
Oh man, you never faced the Talca. You missed out, dude. Talca's so cool.
I need to go back and finish it. But I don't know. I think it's hard because World Iceborne was my first introduction to the Monster Hunter.
Yeah.
So it feels different. It feels, oh man, it feels so good. But there's a lot of gripe between like Rise because graphically, yes, it's a Switch game. And I think a lot of times the expectations that we set for ourselves is what kind of holds us back. Like everyone was expecting World 2. But like Rise, where it was fun, was the gameplay. It was fun and snappy. They tried some things. And I think base game has some work. Sunbreak, I feel like they did a good job with Sunbreak. They made the monsters extremely aggressive. I think a lot of complaint where people were saying that it's too easy, but then they came back with Sunbreak and expanding upon the monsters. Made them sometimes I feel too fast for the console to handle. But then also too, they opened up the build possibilities where like you could there's so many different varieties of options that are good. So I like the slow pace delivery, the experience, the thoughtful approach with World and Iceborne, but I do appreciate the faster gameplay and the options that Rise gives you with 2 different play styles, etc. So for me, it's like World, Iceborne is going to be the premium experience, the one I gravitate more, but Rise Sunbreak was like a good time as well.
Yeah, it's like, to me, I think what I like is the contrast that we got between those two, because Rise and Sunbreak is a much more arcadey experience, which I still think is really cool. And then World and Iceborne is much more about the hunting experience, the more almost hunting simulation. It's not really a simulation, it's kind of like a light simulation, but there's less convenience things. And I was curious as to which one you preferred, because a lot of people look at Monster Hunter more as like a boss fight game than necessarily a hunting game. But it seems like you land more on the hunting side of things now, because initially you were also like, "Oh man, why does boss keep running away?" It's like,
yeah, I was like, "What's happening here? Let's go!"
Yeah,
But
he's getting beat, so he's gonna run.
And I think now, I looking back at it, like it's a pace, it's a dance. Like you go, just like boxing, you're going at it, and like the monsters take a break, then they have to cool down, then they leave, and they kind of give you a second. All right, let's resharpen, let's recalibrate what's happening. How was that first round? So it kind of makes it feel like a full experience. Now appreciating it for the hunts versus just being just like one fight. And I think that's a conversation I had with my chat the other day about like everyone says, "Well, who's harder, Fatalis or Radahn?" And it's like, well, just two completely different fights, and with the way you look at it, Radahn is a good fight, intense for through 3 to 5 minutes. And it's relentless, versus Fatalis is like endurance, consistency, the changing, the variety of attacks, the experience you get. It's a whole completely different like fight.
When Fatalis came out, I actually thought that I wouldn't have been able to beat it solo. It felt so hard that
I saw your video where you said that.
Yeah, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to beat it, but I was like, but I'm okay with it. This is fine, because it's one of those aspirational challenges that you can kind of like keep in the back of your mind, because they do scale it so that it's soloable. So that one, whereas there are bosses that they don't, like Extreme Oath and all of that stuff. But it was interesting to see that level of difficulty in Alatreon and stuff. How did you get along with Alatreon?
Erdtree for me, I felt that it forced me to use elemental weapons, which I am vehemently against.
Were you one of the people like review bombing the game on Steam? It's like, I want to use my raw damage.
No, in hindsight, I did want my raw damage, but I think in Monster Hunter, you just have to adapt. And I feel like for me, Erdtree was a good fight. I think this Judgment was
Eschaton Judgment.
Yeah, the Eschaton Judgment. Initially, I saw a lot of people like, "This is nonsense. This is BS." And for me, I was okay. Let's try to figure this out. What do I need to do to like overcome this? And I think the more I just get in the lab and just practice, like it wasn't as bad as I would say the community was making it out to be. But at the same time, I come from a different perspective because I cover the game and I play a lot of the game, so you're like just used to that being in the grind with a monster until you finally get it down. So for me, it wasn't too crazy.
I mean, that's good, but it was just one of those situations for me where I also spent like, I don't know, probably a live stream of 6 hours the first time I was in there trying to solo him. And then eventually, no, I'm just going to go in with a group and I'll solo him later. Because like soloing him on the first attempt is actually really, really hard. And it was the same thing with Fatalis. I think my first kill with Fatalis was also in a group, and then I went in and I soloed it. But I was constantly like hosting lobbies for people, which is one of the things that I really appreciated about some of the encounters that they did for World and Iceborne, is that we had those like the Safi Jiva, the first time the Cult of Roth comes out. I'm assuming you also were doing lobbies with your community and whatnot.
Yes. That's what I that's the one thing I truly loved about my time playing the game, is having the lobbies, people connecting, playing together. Like, someone's, hey, we have 16 people in the lobby, and someone's like, hey, I'm fighting this, and you can have multiple people doing different things, and just having a good time and just being in the energy. And that's, for me, that's one of the most exciting things I'm looking forward to with WoW's being crossplay, is like everybody can connect and play.
Oh my God.
It's no longer like, hey, what DG, what do you play on? Ah, man. Versus like, hey, it doesn't matter. Play whatever you have, and we could all just have a good time.
Yeah, I still have in my Discord, I still have like different channels set up for like Monster Hunter World, Xbox looking for group. Monster
Yes.
Hunter World, PlayStation looking for group. And
Absolutely.
it was funny because at the height of the game, when stuff like Alatreon was coming out, I would try to get multiple people on multiple platforms to host the lobbies, because then other people that would be in the chat would join. It's like, you don't even need me to be there, because I already made the videos that explain how this stuff is done. So most of the people watching the stream, they already know how to do it. They just need a way to get together and they'll get it done. That was the thing. So I would have like 3 different lobbies going with different people hosting the lobbies. It was absolute insanity, but it was still fun. But like, I'm really happy that we don't have to deal with that in Wilds. We're just gonna have crossplay, and that'll be sorted.
Yeah, I think just going back to the original question with Erdtree, I think that was like all nighter for me. And I woke up my girlfriend, now wife at the time. She's like, "You still going at this thing?" I'm like, "Yes, I'm gonna go until I go down or it goes down." But it's just, I think it's just the fun of it. Just, oh man, it's just, I think for me, it's just cool to see how they can create so many intricate monsters, and just like, wow, what are they gonna do next? And like Erdtree was the first one. I was like, wow, this is a completely different like experience on its own. Then they topped that with Fatalis. Like, oh my god, this is next level.
Yeah, the Fatalis thing was actually not. It was not planned initially, because I've spoken with the team about this, and they told me that it wasn't planned. This was something that, I don't know if you remember, they did that poster, some anniversary poster, and Fatalis was there.
I got a copyright strike from that.
Wait, you got a copyright strike? Oh, it was the... It was the video,
yeah.
Right? You reacted to the video.
Yeah.
I think Gaijin posted the video in his channel as well, and it got struck as well. And I remember like, at the time, Josh was going crazy. He's like, "Oh, I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix it. All these people are getting struck."
I think that was my first time I kind of contacted with him, and I was like, "Hey, I'm so sorry. I was just excited, and I wanted to share the excitement with my community." He's like, "Oh, wait, we're working on it."
Yeah. I remember talking with Josh at the time. It was insane. I'm assuming you would speak with Yuri though, right? Was it Yuri you got in touch with?
You know what's interesting? Like, I worked more with Josh than with Yuri, and I think like Yuri's support like finalized when all the strike stuff happened. But just my journey, it was just like I worked with Josh majority of the time.
Yeah, Josh is an awesome dude. I got to meet him when I was at Gamescom before the release of Monster Hunter World. I was like, I'm going to Gamescom just to meet Josh, so that I can talk to him about Monster Hunter, get all that stuff set up. But yeah, Josh is a super cool dude. It's actually funny. The first time I spoke with Josh on Twitter, and my community already knows this story, but like the first time I spoke with Josh on Twitter, because I'm Portuguese, he wanted to set me up with Yuri, because it was like, I mean, you're in Southern America, right? And I was like, what do you mean, bro? I'm Portuguese.
You just don't hear the accent.
I'm not Brazilian. I'm Portuguese.
Oh, why?
Yeah, I watch too much Star Wars, so I don't have any accent. So a lot of people actually think that I'm American.
Yeah, you sound American.
Yeah, but it was fun times. I mean, so you played Shadow of the Erdtree as well recently, then, because you were talking about Radahn.
Yes,
how'd you like Shadow of the Erdtree?
Oh my, it's so funny because at base game was fun. I felt base game was outside of Millennia, Blade, Amygdala.
Yeah,
I felt the base game was pretty good. It wasn't no like nameless king moments until Millennia. But then I remember I went to Summer Games Fest, and the guys from Banter were there, and they were like, they're giving us a preview. I think it was me and Boomstick Gaming, and they're like, I was like, oh, so like Millennium was tough. How's the difficulty in this one? And the guy looked at me, he laughed, and I was like, he's like, it's you'll find out. And I was like, oh man, this is gonna be something. I think going through it. Yeah, the difficulty spike. I think they did a whole sunbreak and just went like, because everyone was like, oh, the game's too easy, the base game, and just went through the roof with it. And I felt like, wow, it was fun getting through it. But I think like every boss was like, oh wow, this is a journey. Like the dancing one was rough. Relena was tough for me as well. Then just Radahn was experience. But I felt like it was bigger than I thought it was gonna be as far as like
Yeah, the
what they
DLC
added.
was huge.
There's points where I was like, oh, this is still going. Oh, what's up here? Oh, it's still going. So I enjoyed it. I think it's cool to see the great Katana had the long same
I was about
moveset.
I was about to ask. I was like, I'm sure you played Great Katana, right? It had to have been.
I'm just very consistent as a player, okay?
You see the Japanese sword, and you're like, that's the one.
That's it. I played that. But I just always played. I've always played Dex characters, and like even when Dark Souls 3 is like light armor, dodging around like a maniac, trying to get those quick little hits in. But yeah, I played the Great Katana, and it's cool to see they had like a similar play style. I think I saw on Twitter, but it was a challenging run. I would say that it was fun just to see like how they can take it to the next level. Was like cool to experience. How was it for you?
I absolutely loved it, which was why I was very surprised when people started saying, "Oh, it's too hard, and I don't like it, and it's unfair," and I was like. Because the thing about me and Souls is that I've played Souls for years. Like Demon Souls, I absolutely love it. I had to import Demon Souls because it wasn't even available in Europe when I wanted to play it. So I had to like import it from Canada.
Back in the day, I remember the importing of games.
Yeah, so I had to import it from Canada to actually play it, and that's when I got completely hooked. As a matter of fact, Demon Souls is one of the reasons why I bought a PlayStation and not an Xbox, because I was divided. I was like, oh, should I get an Xbox? Should I get a PlayStation? And I was like, well, Demon Souls on a PlayStation. I'm kind of curious about that. So I got that, and then Dark Souls, and it was like nonstop, played all of them. But when I got to Shadow of the Earth, the thing about me playing all the Souls games is that I'm okay at Souls games. I'd say I'm decent, but I don't think I'm amazing. Even though there are some people, because I've done so much content for Souls, are like, oh, Rurikhan, big Souls veteran, he's a pro Souls player. And I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm not that great. I'm okay. Okay. That's usually the way that I look at it. So, for instance, the Dancing Lion, I get in there, I kill him on the second try.
Oh my God, legend.
I killed him on the second try. And although I was like down to a third of my health and no potions left, but he was dead. And I was like, oh, okay, this is okay. So when I see people getting stuck on him, I was like, oh, damn. Oh, wow. Yeah. I might have gotten lucky or something. I don't know, because I was running 2 lances, because, you know, the whole gun lance thing. So I'm like, I'm coming in 2 lances with the amulet that increases your damage on counters whenever you hit midway through an attack of the enemy with piercing attack, deals more damage. So I had that, jumping attacks and all that, and I'm just like, slam, just like slamming him with pokes. It destroyed him on my second attempt, and I was like, oh, this is great. But then when I saw people struggling, I was like, oh man, it's actually not that easy. But yeah, it was interesting to see.
Yeah, I think Dancer was good. And I think it was just getting used to the different phases and the transformation within the fight. I was like, oh wow, they went for it. I think Relena was the one where I was like, wow, this one she's really fast. She's really fast. The combo, I think also too, a lot of people were saying, and I was telling people, like, I feel like we're in a sense where, you know, AI is really big in gaming, and the intelligence of the monsters being able to adapt differently is just evolving. And I think like we're getting closer to the, you know, in a Souls game, whenever you fight a humanoid character, it's always like insane because they could do the same moves as you. So I think we're getting to a point where like they're just getting so good at being able to have multiple movesets based on what you do and react to it, which makes it like, oh wow, I feel like I'm fighting a person, but it's AI, but it's insane now.
It got pretty crazy, but it was interesting to see the overall community discourse around it, because there's people saying, oh, you can't use summons because that's cheating, and I was like, why?
God, yes.
Why? Who cares? Who cares?
We just like making our lives harder. Play the game and enjoy yourself. Yeah, it's in there.
Just play the game however you want. Now I went in without summons because I wanted it to be harder, so I went in without summons. But it was just a weird thing of people saying it's too hard, but not using all of the tools. And then coming up with
getting the fragments.
It was a strange thing. I absolutely loved the DLC. I thought it was awesome. I got my ass kicked by Consort Radahn, and when I got to Consort Radahn, my immediate thought was, I'm not skilled enough to dodge all of these things. I know I'm not. So can I tank all of these things? I'm just like, the beefiest heavy armor you can equip, the biggest shield, and then I just go up to him like,
get him, get in there,
him, and I killed him. And then it's like, oh, that you cheesed it with the shield, and I was like, what the hell? So then I go in there with another build with a big hammer, and I used Lion's Claw, and I beat him down with Lion's Claw, and it's like, well, now you cheesed him with this Ash of War, and I was like, you can't win.
God, you can't
Stop.
win. You can't win.
No, I thought it was fun, but I think it definitely was tuned so that people, your average players would kind of have to resort to summons in a way. Because I almost feel like Miyazaki felt that, most people are beating my game without using this amazing system that we've made. So clearly we haven't made it hard enough. We need to make it harder so that they actually engage with all of the tools that we gave them.
Clearly.
That's what I thought. And that's kind of like how it felt, because in a lot of situations, even if you summon, the boss starts swapping targets haphazardly. It becomes really chaotic. So it's kind of hard for you to figure out.
It's what's funny about that. I think also to support your argument there, I think that's why they have the reserve ashes to increase the strength of your summons. But also like I remember after I beat Radahn, I went back in and I was just like, hey, let's just do some summons and help people out. And just seeing him, like his little light beam attacks that he can teleport. He can teleport to multiple fighters as well and like hit you.
Oh, I haven't done it in co-op yet. Damn.
Yeah, it's just crazy because those attacks, they'll either, if you're one-on-one, all towards you, or he'll like boom, 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 all the different players. I was like, oh wow, this is ready for like everybody to go in. If you're gonna go in a party, that he's meant to fight everybody.
Yeah, again, that's the way that I feel. But and by the way, guys, I know that a lot of you in my audience, you feel differently about it. I just wanted to talk with Dear Gamer about this. I know how you guys feel, because a lot of people, they still prefer to have the whole solo thing. But it's interesting because you know that in a recent interview, people were telling Miyazaki about the seamless co-op mod.
Oh no.
You don't know about the seamless co-op mod?
No.
So there's a mod that you can put in an Elden Ring that just allows you to seamlessly co-op instead of having to constantly summon people. You can just play through the game together with somebody else. I haven't tested out the co-op mod, but basically people were asking how he feels about it, and he's like, "Oh, that sounds interesting. We might do that in a future game."
Yeah, there it is.
And I was like, "Yes, that's exactly what I want. Make a game that is balanced around co-op." And then,
just
like, you can
go through.
You already have like the summon ashes and whatnot, and then it's like there's no excuse. This was definitely balanced around being for co-op. I think that would be interesting. I'd love to see like a Souls-like game that's all about you playing with somebody else. Because I've played through all of the Souls games almost with friends, because it's a fun thing to do.
It's funny because I think what was it? I think I saw some of the interviews that came out after the WoW's event where they're saying that you can just summon a player in when you can just go through missions together. You don't have to like re-invite them to your lobby, I would imagine, and you can just go through and start playing. Did you see an article about that?
What game are you talking about?
WoW's.
What?
Monster Hunter Wilds.
Oh, Monster Hunter Wilds. Sorry. I got so confused because I thought you were talking about Lords of the Fallen for a second there.
Oh, no.
They do that in Lords of the Fallen. You can just play through the whole game with a friend. Yeah, it's pretty much like whatever the seamless co-op is doing for Elden Ring. You can do that in Lords of the Fallen. And I was like, bro, this needs to be the standard for people that just want to engage in multiplayer. It's so much more convenient. You just summon
make it
and
easy
you're done.
to play.
Yeah. But that's
also good because that's two people playing the game versus one. Just let people enjoy with their friends.
I love multiplayer. I love co-op and optional co-op, even though I think in a way I'm also a little bit responsible for this whole trend of people wanting to play Monster Hunter alone, because when I first played World, I brought in that Souls mindset, and every time that I would fight a monster the first time, I'd be like, no, I have to beat it solo the first time.
Same.
And I would,
Same.
Yeah. But I actually think I need to stop doing that, because like it's just so much fun when you're playing with more people. So and you're kind of like robbing yourself of your first experience if you're going in solo. You could be going in with friends. Like some of the best times I've had was playing Iceborne with friends, grinding the guiding lands. Because I organized with friends, and what we did was like, because you remember in the beginning the guiding lands were super hard to grind. And so what we did was like, okay, I take 2 zones, you take 2 other zones, and my other friend just had to maintain 1 more because that was all of the zones. But then eventually another zone came out. It's like, okay, so I have these 2 zones, you have those 2 zones, and we had all the zones leveled up. So whenever we needed anything, we would go to each other's game.
Yeah.
It was like super easy to grind everything. And that was a ton of fun. I like when the game has those things wherein you're kind of encouraged to play with other people, and there's more than just, oh, the game becomes easier because of it. No, it's like it just becomes like a better experience because you're playing with other people.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like in GU, I don't know if you got the G rank, but in G rank playing solo, because the monsters don't scale down like master rank in World and Iceborne. So playing solo,
4.
Yeah, I don't think it's 4. I think by default it's 2 or 3. I forget what the scaling is in GU, but it's a little bit weird. But we had like a group of me and 2 other friends, so there'd always be 3 of us. So we would always get together to play because none of us wanted to play it solo. Yes. I timed out quests in G rank and GU, dude.
Yeah, it's just a good experience playing with people. It's just fun. You never see the cool things they do, the quirky things that come together, and those moments are shared. Yeah, I that's something I would love about having in like the lobbies with people and then just kind of growing through together.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But getting to the main topic, Wilds. What'd you think about when it was revealed back at this was the Game Awards last year, I think, if I remember the first time that they showed it. What was it like? Were you streaming the Game Awards? Or did you know afterwards? Oh man, what was the reaction like? Because me, when I see it, I'm like, oh my
god! I was in disbelief. I was like, prior, we're all hyped. Yeah. And I was, it's gonna be a Tokyo Game Show. It's gonna be we're like, oh man.
See, me and Gaijin, we said multiple times, it's not gonna be a Tokyo Game Show. It doesn't make any sense. We constantly said, and it was funny because you know that the reason why everybody was saying that it was gonna be a Tokyo Game Show was because there was an interview where somebody translated that Ryozu said that people should pay attention to the Tokyo Game Show, but it was a mistranslation. So Gaijin went back and he watched the interview, and what he said was he was excited to be able to go back to in person to exhibitions because the COVID lockdowns had been lifted, and it was like, oh, I'm just excited to be able to go to places and talk to people. That was it, and that mistranslation caused everybody to go into a frenzy. They're like, oh, Tokyo Game Show, 100%. But me and Gaijin kept saying, it doesn't make sense because Tokyo Game Show is like a Japan-centric thing. And the thing that World brought to the table is that it's global. It's for everyone. So it wouldn't make sense that the sequel to go like, oh, we're going to just announce it in Japan again. That would be a huge step backwards. But I was also not expecting it to be announced at the Game Awards. I thought we were going to get the Elden Ring DLC announced at the Game Awards. That's what I expected.
I was watching it. I think it was the last game being showcased.
It was the last game, yeah.
And everyone is like, "Oh, this is it. This is the biggest game," which set the precedence for. I think when it came out and they were kind of jumping through, and I was like, "No, it's not. I don't believe it. I don't believe it." I was like, "No way." Then when it finally said the box of Her Wilds, I lost it. I was like, "Oh my god!" I was so hyped. And I think for me,
go ahead.
It was just amazing to see. Oh my god, it's here, and also too, it's world graphics. It's like, oh, this is the next. This is it. This is the next one.
The next big
the main.
Cause
that's what I was playing the game. A lot of my community would tell me, oh, there's 2 teams, Team A, Team B. Team B does Rise, and Team A does World. And I was like, that's great. And this is the next big one. So for me, I was just super excited. Then when I saw 2025, selfishly, I was like, no.
I want it now.
Give it to me now. But I was hyped. Go ahead.
There was a recent investor meeting at Capcom, and the investors, they bring in questions and then Capcom answers it for the investors and whatnot. And one of the investors just went, "Why don't you guys just release it on a holiday 2024 because that would make more money?"
Exactly.
Just release it in the holiday this year. It'll make more money.
Yeah.
Easy money. Just
more money equals good.
Yeah, exactly. But it was funny. But so like me, initially you also thought that it was maybe not Monster Hunter when they first start showing the footage because it looked
No,
so
I was
alien.
like, I was in disbelief. I was like, nope, it's not it. They didn't show it. The show's over. Let's wrap it up. Then after, I was like, wait, oh my god, this is it. Then they showed Monster Hunter Wild. That's when I was all right. This is it. There's so many games nowadays that are like this formula of the Souls Monster Hunter's look, and I was like, this could be it. But I didn't want to like get overly excited if I didn't think it was going to be it.
Yeah, it was absolutely crazy. And then we got the first trailer, which that was not at Summer Game Fest. The first trailer was the one at the PlayStation show.
Yeah.
Did you were you streaming that one as well?
Yeah, no, I wasn't streaming that one when I was working, but I saw it afterwards.
Dude, that one when that one came out, my mouth was just like the whole time. I was like, "What? This is crazy!" Because they actually showed proper gameplay. The first one was mostly like teasers and whatnot. The second one, they're showing proper gameplay, the focus system,
mode. Yeah, that focus is like the highlight. Everyone's like, "What is that? What is that?"
Yeah, that was absolute insanity. And then we had the trailer that were you at the Summer Game Fest? How did that even work? Did you buy a ticket or what was the deal?
No, yeah, it wasn't a ticket. One of my was it partners we work with. It was like, hey, they're having a Summer Game Fest event. Like, are you interested in attending? And I was like, yeah.
So wait, someone from your work?
No, like as a content creator, like companies reach out and
agencies.
Yeah. They reached out and they're like, "Hey, are you interested in attending?" I was like, "Yeah, it's in my neck of the woods." Absolutely. So then they're like, "Okay, cool. Here's a list of people that companies that might be there. If you want to like set up any kind of like interviews or demo slots, then email them." So I was like, "Okay." So I went through and I saw Capcom was there. I was like, "Hey, are you guys doing anything?" so then they're like, "Oh, we might have some stuff going down," and I was like, "Oh my god, yeah, absolutely!" So then at the event, it was like kind of like a mini, I would say mini E3. They had like booths and stuff, people you can talk to, and Capcom had their little segment, little room, and then you went in there and you signed up, and they went to the room where they had.
Were you at? Because I'm assuming that Summer Game Fest has like an audience, right? For the actual presentation of when Jeff Keighley's on stage and all that stuff?
Yeah, but I wasn't at. Oh, so I wasn't at the live showing of the game where they had like the presentation. I was just there for the days after where they had like the booths and everything where you can come meet and greet and that kind of stuff.
Okay. So you go in there and you get to watch what I understand is like a presentation, right? Because you couldn't actually play.
No, so they walk in, there's like almost 20 chairs and a bunch of like industry people and other content creators, and the 3 developers are there on the left hand side playing the game, and they have a projector and they're just playing it, and we get to see like a full 25-minute hunt, and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna show you a full hunt."
So like, walk me through that if you still have like some memory of it.
Yeah. So you walk in. I made sure to go see it twice because I was like, because you just sign up. They had like every hour they have a showing of it. I made sure she see it twice. I can make sure I get all the details I can get during that time. But they're in the camp, and he's walking. First thing I noticed is a lot of graphics look fantastic. The details look amazing. And you start walking through. You jump on, what is it called? What's it called?
Sacred.
The mount?
Sacred.
The sacred. Jump on the sacred.
Like that, yeah.
Yeah, that you open up a map, or you talk to somebody, and they're like, "Yeah, the game is it's open where you can just openly just go look for a monster, hunt the monster, and they're looking for a specific monster, and they click on it, then it just go. There's no like loading screen, there's no transition screen.
So they're looking for a monster where in the map?
They pull up one of their maps, kind of like the guiding lands. It's like a little interface where you can select different monsters that are currently in that area, and it shows like a big old zoom out of the massive map, and it has like broken up into quadrants, and it says, "Hey, the monster could be locally in this area." So then there's multiple versions of it, just how you fight like, I guess there's multiple monsters in like in Guidelands. Imagine there's like 2 Rajans just running around. So then you select the monster that you're looking for, and you run up to it, and it's just doing its thing. And that's where like they're like, "Hey, you're a camp. you can just put a camp anywhere, or there's some camps available. You can just drop one anywhere you want, like in
I don't think you can put it anywhere. They were saying that there's like specific locations.
Yeah,
where
like
you
Dragon
can place
Dogma.
them. Yeah.
Yeah, there's more open spots where you can pick and choose where you want to put them.
Yeah.
And then they just start running out. And you run out into the open field and you see the monsters going after. And it doesn't start the quest, you attack it. And that's when it has a little like you initiate the quest and you get like a little quick strike. Then they just start fighting. And
was
that's
there
where
was
like,
there a timer when they started the quest, or was there no timer?
yeah, so on the right hand side, they moved it from your health bar. It's right on the right hand side where it says Hunt Nergigante. There's a clock right there.
Okay. So there is a timer, because that was one of my biggest questions that I still haven't gotten answered. Is there a timer? Because if you can just go out there and start hunting, so yeah.
Yeah, so once I see you, I hit Rajan in the wild, and all of a sudden the timer is right there, and it starts, and you're just hunting the monster.
That's nice. That is interesting. Did you see, did they go to any other village, or was it just the one village where you start?
The one village in the desert area, and I think that's where a lot of people say, is it only desert? All we saw when that time was just a desert environment. We saw the different variations between like the thunderstorm coming and it just being regular desert. How the monsters react differently. They're running away. Lightning was striking. The other alpha monster came out. The one that I think initially we thought that's going to be the flagship monster. But no, it's just another monster that comes out during the thunder.
The one people are calling Thor Magala.
Yes, Thor Magala came out. And after the thunder was gone, if you don't defeat him, it's still there, just chilling. It's just doing this thing on the map as well.
Interesting. It's just like the whole seamlessness with which you're describing the whole hunt is actually insane. What weapons did they use?
The first time we saw they use great sword and light bowgun. Then while they're on the secret, because they want to showcase hey, like this how you can seamlessly swap between your two weapons and based on the scenario. Then they, after halfway through the map, they went back to the camp and pulled out longsword. And they utilized longsword.
Of course they did. Of course they did.
They have a longsword and light bowgun. It just went crazy with longsword. It's all like longsword mains like we're gonna eat. We're eating well because it's like World where you do the spirit thrust, you go up, Helmbreaker comes down. They have like their fast combo that they switch it up. So they said longsword is more like a chain weapon that kind of like chains into attack. So they didn't show, I think they're strategically, they didn't show the focus attack for longsword. Or maybe they did, but they didn't show, there wasn't no stance change. Like with the greatsword, they showed, oh, this is the focus mode. And you specifically saw him like change and did the counters. But I think they want to save that for when they want to like make a video of all the weapons and all the different changes coming to them.
They're saving that for Gamescom because the game's going to be playable at Gamescom, so people are definitely going to be able to see it there if it's already implemented into the game, I would assume.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the seamlessness was the one big thing they were selling. Like, hey, there's no like borders in the game anymore. Just go out and play. And I think it's like it's one of the things about the Guiding Lands. You just get out there and you're just hanging out playing for a couple of hours. Oh man, all right, I did a lot of things. But they want the game to feel like just immersive. It
kind of feels like the Guiding Lands was the kind of like the experimentation that they wanted to do for the next one. It's like, okay, we have this seamless big map. You hunt a bunch of monsters in there. We tally up your rewards at the end, and it kind of feels like that might be the overall vibe of what they're doing with Wilds.
Yeah, I think that's the one. That's just true. They take so many different elements from the different games and they put it into one, like the whole quality of life with AI, where you can just bring in people, 3 other hunters to fight with you in case you're in a situation where you don't have online. Like that came from Rise Sunbreak that they're bringing into
with
Wilds.
The follower system. And I mean, I'm assuming they're pulling both from Rise and Sunbreak as well as Dragon's Dogma with how smart the pawns are and at learning stuff and whatnot.
And also
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead, because you saw it. I haven't seen it yet. So and you're the guest. You go ahead.
Yeah. So another thing too. Speaking of that, is they specifically said like, yeah, they're AI smarter. So like they will put traps for you to avoid them. They'll bring the monster to a trap. If monster like retreats to his camp to rest at the end of the map when the show is almost done, they'll go to the monster and wait for you in case you want to do like
Bombing,
explosion or anything. So like they said that AI is like a lot more intelligent now to support.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we were discussing in my latest stream was actually that it would be cool. Like I don't know if you've played enough GU to see this feature, but like if you play GU in multiplayer and you get like guild cards from your friends, eventually they show up in like your multiplayer hub, like as NPCs. So they show up as NPCs, and what you can do is you can send them out on quests the same way that you send your palicos out on quests. So like you pay them a couple of points or whatever it is, and they go out and they get sent on quests. And we were thinking that would be really cool if like when you exchange guild cards with the people, you know, you can choose to summon those people, and it would actually adapt to that player's playstyle. So like if I'm playing Gunlance and I'm just like spamming full burst, then you will just bring in a hunter, and it's like my dude goes in there, just spams full burst. That's all he does. I think that would be cool.
Dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To actually be able to imitate the play styles of other players and whatnot, I think that'd be cool.
I think that's really, really cool. I think or their technology wise to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, we already have followers in Rise and Sunbreak, and those work really well. And each of them has different personalities, like depending, like for instance, if you play with Luchika, the way that she gets you out of being stunned is she just throws a bomb at you. It's like, boom, you're not stunned anymore. Get up. Right? And other ones are more considerate, or for instance, if you bring Hinowa, she heals all the time. So, you know, they already have like these built-in personalities in the NPC. So I think they can kind of do something like that with technology of Dragon's Dogma 2, and that sounds like it'd be really fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think for me, seeing the presentation, it was cool. Also, too, like the mounting system, there was really a focus on being able to jump in your secret whenever you need to like. Man, I didn't see them sharpen.
Yeah, that's like one of the things that I was going to ask if you can sharpen while you're in secret. I think they've confirmed that you can. I'm pretty sure they said you can. You can heal and you can sharpen, I think.
Yeah, I think the big thing they wanted to add is a lot of quality of life improvements. So like being able to, they say use your, that's not slingshot. Use your projectile. You can grab things in the distance.
Yeah, your hook sling or whatever they're calling it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can grab things in the distance. You don't have to get off. There's like a lot of quality of life things. Like, I wish I could just, like little guidelines in the world. You have to like go get all the drops that happen on the floor before they expire. So being able to just grab them from a distance.
That's actually one of the specifically the sharpening and stuff. That's actually one of the things that I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think you should be able to sharpen, or if you do sharpen on top of Sacred, I think there needs to be a disadvantage. Because, for instance, if you look at Rise and Sunbreak, sharpening on top of the Palamute is broken overpowered. Because like, what's the monster going to do? It's not going to do anything. I'm just going to mount up and sharpen. There's nothing you can do. Now, I actually only play with 2 Palicos, so I don't even get to do that. But the very first time I did in the demo, I was like, this is broken. Like, what do you mean? There's no downside to doing this. So I kind of feel like there needs to be a downside.
Yeah, and I think that's the one thing that they share is it will get you out of trouble. So I would imagine they would kept it like Rise Sunbreak where you can like sharpen on the go, because they want to give that, I guess, quality of life equal opportunity experience versus like the can't sharpen on your mounts. I did specifically see that. Go ahead.
Did you see them restock at any time? Go to the camp and restock?
Yeah, he went back to the camp and I was like a little foggy. It's been some time, but yeah, when they went to switch back to Longsword, they were able to get items, and they're like, yeah, you can restock your items on the go when you need to at your camps.
So basically restocking is pretty much the same. This is another thing that we kind of, a decent chunk of my community, we would rather not be able to restock, because there's something cool about you having to prepare ahead of time. And a lot of that is lost if you can just like restock. Oh, I'm just going to go in. Yeah, it's like, oh,
infinite.
Doesn't even matter. I have infinite everything, so it doesn't really matter. What do you think about that? Would you rather restock or not restock?
I think for me, I see both sides. I think the thrill of the hunt, like you got to be prepared to go in here because you got nothing. It adds a different layer of intensity to it. but the restock is convenient if you want to like switch out your stuff. I do think it makes the game a little easier, being able to have infinite amount of potions, infinite amount of all your things available. Versus if it's true hunting, you can't access that stuff.
So let me tell you a little story of me playing one of the older games. I think this was in 3 Ultimate. Because I was very much a noob when I was playing the older games. I only become somewhat decent at Monster Hunter when World came out. And so I'm fighting this monster. I don't even remember what monster it was. But like, I run out of potions. I straight up run out of potions. And back in the older games, potions is not just herbs. It's herbs and blue mushrooms, and then you have to go get honey. So I'm in the middle of this hunt, but because the zones are segmented, I get away from the monster. I go to one of the other zones, and I start collecting herbs. Then I go and I collect blue mushrooms. Then I go and I collect honey. Like, I'm spending a good 10 minutes just like collecting materials, and then I craft a couple of more potions, and I go fight the monster again. I understand this, like, it's super not convenient and that a lot of people nowadays don't want to play the game like that, but it's memorable and it's such an interesting experience to have, I feel.
You know, it's so true. And because I think starting with Monster Hunter, I think for me, I was getting like, oh, wow, I got to make my potions. I got to make my mega potions. I got to make my heals. And it kind of puts you into the mindset of, oh, I'm really a hunter here. I really got to go gather my materials. I really got to like craft this myself versus like, oh, I got my SS Flash. Like, I'm just going to heal and get all 10, 13 of them back.
Yeah, you just go up to a bonfire, sit down. It's like, oh, all my potions are back. This is perfectly fine. I'm back. Yeah.
And I think like, I think Monster Hunter is one of those games where World made it so popular because it was available for everybody. And I think the whole Return to World brought a lot of people like, wow, this game was actually really good. It was just too much for me at the moment. And I have some friends I work with, and they're like, I tried it. I did it for an hour. Too complex. I deleted it. I was like, oh, you guys spend a little time. Like, you got to learn a little more things
about it. Played it for 1 hour.
Yeah. It was like, you got to give it more than that. And so I think what they're trying to do is like, it's hard as a balance. It's how do we play tribute to the people that started with us and make some like difficulty to it as far as like gathering your gear, but also too, how do we continue to make the game what I feel like Wilds is going to be one of the more mainstream of Monster Hunter games ever because of the biggest game, because of so many people got a chance to dig into it and learn. But now they're like, okay, how do we welcome those people in without making them feel like, oh man, this is too much, versus like, oh, we personally love that. So it's like the hunters looking outside and saying, hey, this is how the game is, enjoy it for what it is, versus newcomers coming in and saying, hey, maybe these are some things I would like to have. It's kind of the whole Dragon Dogma teleportation thing all over again.
Oh, yeah. So, but where do you land on it right now with your experience so far with Monster Hunter?
I feel with World, I would feel I like being able to craft my potions. And I like being able to, I think it adds more gameplay aspects of the game. Yeah. Hey, let's put these books together. Let's put this together. Get my items. Get me going. I feel like I like that aspect, being able to 100% get them on a time I wouldn't like. As far as being able to restock my items, I feel like initially you do that more often, because I feel like later on in the game you don't necessarily restock as much. You kind of figure it out. But I personally would like it without it.
Without to have that thrill. Yeah,
without the restocking.
I think maybe they would add like a kind of, I feel like one of the compromises that you could make is potentially maybe have a checkbox on a quest where it's like no restock and you get like bonus good luck or something like that.
Yeah,
and then
that'll be cool.
and then everybody gets what they want, right? We want the thing with no restock. We get a little bit more loot, and everybody else is like, okay, you want a restock? That's fine, but there's less loot.
Just like on Street Fighter, where you have the classic mode versus manual. Classic mode, you do more damage, versus manual automatic, you do less damage, but it's easier to play the game.
Yeah. So I think that's would be one of the things that would work, but I don't think they'll do it. I don't think that's happening. I think that I think that restocking is just here to stay, and it's just the new standard, and it is what it is.
Yeah.
But that's an interesting thing. So one of the things that they've mentioned, especially with the latest trailer, is the story focus. There's going to be an even bigger story focus this time around. What do you think about that?
It's funny because for me, I'm a blockhead player. I see monster, go fight. It's like
just let me skip the cutscenes. That's where you're at.
I enjoy the presentation in world, but I feel like for me, I didn't play Monster Hunter for the story, no, more or less. I play it more for like the wow, this is a really cool monster. I wish sometimes I feel like I want more like lore.
Yeah.
As a new player to Monster Hunter World, I was, oh, where did Tigrex come from? How did they? Or that I think that for me, since it's so focused on the monster, that'd be cool to see that kind of stuff. Maybe it was like that in the past games. But as far as the story element, I feel like, oh, that's cool. I think they have like, it looks like they have a set character you can play with, but they said you can customize them. Also, the Palico talking is different as well now. So I feel like there's a lot of different things coming together.
Do you think you're gonna let your Palico talk, or you're gonna shut it off? Because you can shut it off. They've already confirmed that.
Yeah, I think I'll play it by ear. I'll see what it says. If I'm annoyed by it, and I'll turn it off. Because even like the Rise Sunbreak, I turn off on my hunter talking. I was like, hey,
no!
I couldn't do it. The talking we get is a blade slashing. But for me, I think I'll be open minded and kind of see what it's like. Because I got kind of used to it in stories. So we'll see like how that goes.
I was for me it was the other way around. I put it to maximum, the amount of hunter banter, because every time I reload my gun, Lance dude goes like, "I'm gonna punch you full of holes," and I was like, "Hell yeah!"
Let's go. You know, maybe I didn't give it a chance enough, because for mine with Longstairs, oh my god, here it comes. Versus like.
It depends on like the voice that you choose. They actually have completely different lines. That's the thing. So it's not just like one line and then, you know, everybody does it with a different tone of voice. No, the script is different depending on the voice that you choose.
Oh, you see, I probably would have enjoyed more knowing that.
Yeah. You have to choose the right voice. That's the thing. If you don't, then yeah. Because I even noticed it, because I usually do the gruff voice. So there's two of them. And I noticed that there was one that I liked, and then I picked one, and I thought it was the same one because I played on PC and on Switch, and it wasn't the same one, and the lines were different. And I was like, I don't like the way this one sounds as much as I like the other one. I don't know how I feel about this. So that was cool.
Yeah, so I think they're trying something here. So I think I'll play the game as intended. They wanted to craft it this way. Let me see what it's like. Then I guess when we get to end game and grind in.
Our hunter actually speaks in cutscenes this time around as well, which will be interesting.
I know, based on how you build your character too, it's gonna be interesting to see like how the voice coming out of it.
The voice coming out of him, and he's just like a clown-looking character that everybody does, like crazy-looking characters.
Yes. Yeah, I'm interested. What are your thoughts on that, Hunter speaking?
I've always preferred voice protagonists. Always, I'm not a big fan of silent protagonists. Like, I like hearing my character talk. I don't even mind if it's not the voice I imagine him as. It's still more immersive to me when my character talks. But that is very much a personal thing, I feel, and I think that there's going to be a lot of people that are going to find it weird. But I don't think you'll be able to turn that one off specifically. I'm pretty sure the Palico you'll be able to turn it off, but not the Hunter. I wouldn't imagine.
Yeah, I think it's good for immersion as well. Like, hey, I want to know what my character has to say or their stance on things.
Yeah. So, when they were hunting stuff, did you see more than 3 monsters in the map?
Oh man, I'm trying to think back. Oh man, were there? Because there was the main monster, there was the Thormagla. And I think there was, because it was trying to bring another. They're trying to showcase, hey, you can bring a monster to fight another monster.
Yeah,
they're bringing one across the map.
Did they show Turf Wars?
They did show Turf War. We saw Turf War. Yeah,
I'm assuming it'd be the Balahara and Doshiguma, right? The bear-looking dude and the snaky thing. Yeah, because that's the one they showed in the trailer.
Yeah, the Turf Wars are back, so they did show them interacting with each other and fighting.
Yeah, I'm just curious if they will have more than 3 monsters in the map. I'm assuming Doshiguma was in a herd, right? Because he's one of the herd monsters of that map.
And it's interesting because it was a big map they were showcasing, and there's a lot of monsters and duplicates in that area. So I'm pretty sure there was multiple monsters on there, because if there was a big list that you can select from to go hunt in the moment.
So a big list of maybe more than 3 then.
Yeah, 3 different types, or
No, I'm saying like if there's a list, were there
yeah,
three entries in the list? No, there was more, right? Than three
no,
entries.
there was like at least 10 of them on there.
Oh,
So
okay.
there has to be more than 3 monsters on the map because you could just go fight other things.
Interesting. It'll be really cool to see how the map stuff is going to work because you just went from outside the village straight into the map, which is one of the things that I thought was going to happen, like pretty much since they did the reveal at the Game Awards. Because I was like, they're focusing so much on this mount that it would make sense that the game is more open world because
Yes,
that's why you have the mount. Because
exactly.
in that first teaser, you don't even see the hunter off the mount. It's just mount the whole time. That's it.
It's true.
So it's like my brain instantly went. They're showcasing so much of this mount that it has to be open world, so that you're mounting all the time because that's what will make sense.
Yeah, because these things are pretty. Because when they were bringing the other monster to the other side of the map, it was going for a minute. It was like going over some distance trying to bring the other monster, and ultimately there's a point where it got too far where it said, all right, I'm not interested in you anymore, and then ran away to do his thing, and he just went back to the main monster currently fighting. So the area does look big.
Interesting. Did you see any of the focus mode or power clash things happening with I'm
Oh
assuming the great sword, because you said you didn't notice it on the long sword.
no, yeah, he did the focus mode power clash with the greatsword, and there was a counter he did, but there was also one he took a little bit of time to kind of get it formulated, but where they put the greatsword sideways into the mouth of the monster.
Yeah, the one
So
that we see in the trailer. That one was crazy.
Yeah, see, he did that as well, and I was, oh man, is that gonna be? They didn't say. I was like, this is gonna be only when monsters open their mouth. How would it interact with other monsters or different kind of style,
Yeah.
So I didn't say that, but like it was a classic example, just like in the trailer.
Damn, dude. I can't wait to see what different weapons do with that. Because like I've already heard from I don't know if it was on your video or if it was someone else that also watched that, but they were saying that they actually saw them stick the bow gun inside the monster's mouth and
Oh man,
just blast the bow gun. And I was like, no, that was for the gun lance. The gun lance gets to do that, not the bow gun.
gun lance. No, I didn't. I didn't see any others. Just the greatsword.
Oh man. So my theory on focus mode, and this is not confirmed at this point, but my theory is that so there's a bunch of different things. You're gonna go into focus mode, and that's gonna allow you to aim your attacks to different locations, which to me is a good thing because you know that sometimes you're trying to get a tail or something like that, and it's just a pain in the neck because you're wet. I mean, you wouldn't know what that's like because you play a longsword, and longsword just slashes from top to bottom. It hits every goddamn tail. Like, listen,
I played the bow as well, so I have a little bit of aiming experience.
yeah, but like with the gun lance trying to land the tail in some monsters, it's struggle bus. Okay, it's just struggle bus nonstop. And so if you're able to, get the focus mode thing aimed to specific places that you want to attack, and your weapon kind of is able to hit that spot, I see that as a good thing. I know that a lot of people are like, oh, it feels like easy mode. And it's like, no, it just makes it in a way that you can aim where you want to hit things instead of like, swinging your weapon and hoping for the best, which,
we have to stop doing this to ourselves. Like, quality of life improvements are good. I think with focus mode, they showed that, and it's like a red little outline on the specific body part you're going after. So you can say, oh, I'm going for the tail. The tail's glowing red, and I'm hit there.
So really? So it actually changed like the moveset of the weapon so that I would hit better in that zone or something?
No, it just kind of lets you know like, oh, you're aiming towards, that's like a reticle, you're aiming towards like the wing or the leg, and it'll kind of have like a little red spot because the focus mode like creates a wound there. If I recall correctly.
Wait, so focus mode creates the wound?
Yeah, it's like it uses it to create the opening, and the reticle is there for some time where you like you create the weak spot. It's like it helps you like zero in on a specific part.
Because my theory was that wounding could be done without focus mode. So like I thought that if you just keep hitting a leg, it would eventually become wounded if you were just targeting that leg even without focus mode.
Yeah, and if I remember correctly, you turn the focus mode, I want to hit the leg, I create the wound there. Now it's there available for a period of time, and the wounding goes away. Then you have to re-engage the wound.
Okay, but after you do the wound, then you can go into focus mode and do the finisher thing that they show in the trailer with the slashing of the sword sideways.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you do have to go into focus mode to get the wound and then go into focus mode again to capitalize on the wound. I still think that you might be able to wound without focus mode, but it'll probably be harder. But yeah, I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, it was just, that's why I want to say it twice, because they were just going through it. And if you were not paying attention, they're like, wait, what was that? Huh? What happened? And it's just so much.
It's hard, and I think that's one of the reasons why they do it like that, because they want people to come out of it with, this person's going to focus really a lot on this aspect of it. This other person will focus on, and every person brings a different story. Like I saw your video, and you were just basically, okay, so here's the moveset of the longsword. It does this thing. It does
okay, that was 20 minutes in.
I was like, you were given a full report on the longsword moveset, and I was like, damn.
That was 20 minutes in. I talked about the map and the icons and how the game looked and the trap being picked up again. What do you think about that, being able to pick up the traps?
Wait, so you can pick up the trap and you can keep it?
Yeah.
You actually just get it back? So it doesn't destroy it?
No.
Oh, nice. Yeah, that's good, because like I don't, I like the whole preparation thing, but I appreciate the fact that I can get my trap back, because it makes sense from a logical standpoint that I can get it back. It's right there.
I'll just pick that up. Yeah. Yes.
Especially because you can only carry one of them. Then you have to craft another one afterwards. Actually, I don't know. Thinking more about it, I don't know. It's an interesting.
I can tell you.
No, I'm divided.
Souls player.
Yeah,
you're old school. Yes.
My old school is coming in. I was like, actually, that makes it easier. I
don't like that.
I don't know about that. I have to think about that one.
Easy bad. Easy equals bad.
But you know what? Not though? Always. Go ahead.
But a lot of quality of life changes. How they're making this quote unquote easier. I can only imagine like how more intense the monster hunter gonna be.
That's the thing. People have been asking me, like, okay, so you can get any improvement that you want to do for the gun lance. What do you want? And I was like, I don't want anything. I want all the weapons to be weaker. I want every weapon to be weaker so that we have that back and forth more. Because like in Rise and in Sunbreak, in certain points, if you start hitting the monster hard enough, you can bully it. You can just bully certain monsters. And they'll start getting into high anomaly and stuff like that. Then it slows down. But up until that point, there's a lot of monsters. You can straight up bully them into submission, and there's nothing they can do to stop you. And I'm like, no, I want to be scared of the monsters again. Because like in the old games, like in GU, I'm sure you felt this, right? In GU, you're going up against like a Rathalos for the first time. It's not a joke. You're like, bro, what's going on? It's different than when you go against Rathalos in World, right? You're going up against Rathalos in World, and it's like, oh, this is fine. You go up against Rathalos in GU, and you're like, wait, whoa, stop, chill.
Why are you so intense?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, intensity.
I miss the intensity a little bit, but that's also a consequence of us playing these games so much that we start getting better, which is kind of like why I feel like Miyazaki and From Software, they're struggling now to make the game challenging for people, because they've just been getting better and better and better. And the players getting better makes the games be easier, even though the difficulty is constantly increasing. It still feels easier. And so they're trying to strike that balance. And I kind of feel like with Monster Hunter, we're coming up on the same problem, which is, people learn how to play the game with World. A lot of people learn how to play the game with World. And now, they went to Rise. And Rise was super easy, right? Village Rise, what a joke.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a complete joke. You go through, all the beginning of Rise was a joke until they started putting out like the hazard quests. Mm-hmm. That's when things start getting challenging, right? And then in Sunbreak, the anomaly stuff comes on, and that's when stuff starts getting challenging.
But I think it's build up experience, because I was just suffering with Arc Timber Valkana for the last 2 months, and then you go into like, you take that experience into the Rise Sunbreak. Okay, it's not so bad. Yeah. Until you get like to the end level game of it, that's when it gets crazy. Side question: you're an old Souls player. What's your favorite Souls game?
Man, that is it's like the one that I say. Usually, people don't like this answer, because I think a lot of people have recency bias for Elden Ring. so everybody likes to say Elden Ring.
Yeah.
I think nothing beats Dark Souls 1 for me.
Okay.
How about you?
It has to be Sekiro.
Oh, I love Sekiro though. Sekiro is amazing. You know that I did like a tier list publicly on a live stream. It was like one of my Cons Anvil shows, and I was like, okay, we're gonna do a public tier list, and we're gonna order out all of these From Software Souls games. We're gonna pick out the best ones, and part of it would be putting it there. Other parts I would put up to a vote and whatnot. And people wanted Sekiro to be dead last. And I was like, what are you talking? Sekiro's amazing. What do you mean? And then Fighting Cowboy showed up to the show. Yeah, actually called Fighting Cowboy. And he was like, no, Sekiro's the best one. I was like, thank you. Sekiro's amazing.
The combat is so good. The environment, it was because it was, you couldn't just power level through the game.
Exactly.
You had to use them. That's what makes Monster Hunter different. You can't max gear, max everything. You're not one shot in Fatalis.
No.
Some speedrunners will get them done in like 10 minutes or so, 5 minutes, but you're not gonna one shot Fatalis like you just one shot Radon. It's like that's the thing I love about Sekiro. It's like, oh no, you have to get in there.
You have to do the dance. You have to do the dance in Sekiro. There's no way around it. And that was one of the coolest things about Sekiro is because you actually feel the katana parries. They're so good. Like when I beat Sword Saint Ishin, I was like, bro, I was in the zone. It's like everything was like ting 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 ting. I was like, this is so good. It was amazing. His weaker version was harder for me because there's like the weaker version of him. I struggled more with that because he had you would hold his attacks more often. And I was like,
the delays.
Yeah, the delays.
Oh my god, the delays.
The delays.
That thing, some Shadow of the Erdtree is 100% delays. That's what killed people. We get greedy. You get greedy. The delays eat you alive.
Exactly. That's why you use a shield every now and then. Just put a shield. It's fine. You block it. You block it. And it's fine. Shields up, Iron Breakers. All of that.
I love that. Oh yeah, you were saying. Go ahead. I just had to know what your favorite game was.
Yeah, I mean, my favorite Souls is definitely that one. What about So, of all the Monster Hunters you've played so far, which one's your favorite? Like, you can distinguish between expansion included if you want to.
I would say Iceborne.
Iceborne? For me, it's actually Base World.
Base World?
Base World. I like Base World more because the Clutch Claw, after a while, I feel like the fights become a little bit too formulaic, where it's like the moment the monster's not enraged, the best thing to do is slam him against the wall or slam him against another monster. And that whole thing, us wanting to be optimal, you get to a point where it's like, well, time to slam. Now it's time to slam. It's like,
it's funny. That's the one thing I did not like about Iceborne, the Clutch Claw.
It's a Clutch Claw.
Yeah, I didn't like how it took me out of the action. Also, too, I wouldn't mind if I jumped on the monster and I took damage as it ran or did an attack. Just give me damage with falling off. Then Longsword has to do it twice. It's like, why?
Wait, you have to do it twice to tenderize?
Tenderize, yes. See, you don't even know the struggles of the Longsword or the light weapons.
Listen, have you ever tried placing a Wyvern Stake Blast on a monster? You don't know the struggle. Do you even know what a Wyvern Stake Blast is?
I have no idea.
So listen, here's what you have to do with the gun lance just to begin dealing damage, okay? When you want to begin dealing damage, first you have to pick up ammo, and it has to be good ammo. It can't be just like stones from the ground because that affects how long the thing stays in there. So you have to pick up good ammo. The best is like the bomb ammo or the thorn pods or that stuff. And after that, you load that ammo in a really lengthy animation. You load that into the gun lance. Luckily, you're blocking while doing this, so it's not all bad. But you load that into the gun lance, and then you have to do a very specific move on the monster, which is the same that you do for the worm stake. And that will stick something in the monster, which is the Wyvern Stake Blast. And then when you're shelling the explosions of the gun lance, you have to hit that thing that you put in the monster. Otherwise, you lose a ton of damage.
Oh my god.
So you want to talk to me about having to tenderize twice? And by the way, and I also have to tenderize twice with the gun lance.
Okay, you have one. You have one. The gun lance struggle, and that's the one weapon I have not played. I played lance, and I was like, how much better could gun lance be? Like because of that, I have to check it out. I have to.
No, listen. I actually, when Iceborne came out, I wanted to main lance because of that anime move that it does with the crazy counter. It's like,
yeah. Yes.
And then you go back. That is super so amazing. Cool. So I wanted to do that, but the thing was, I did a poll, and nobody in my community wanted to see me play lance.
Lance I was like, such nobody wants to watch Lance.
I love Lance.
It's so good. The counter Lance is so good.
Yeah, I actually don't like it very much in Rise and Sunbreak because they added that slap thing, and I was like, I hate that. So it's like you had the slap in World and Iceborne, but usually the way that you dealt damage was like poke, 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 counter, poke, poke. And in World, it's more, I mean, not in World, in Rise, it was like poke, poke, charge, sweep, and I was like, ugh,
what is this?
I hate this. This is terrible. Yeah. And then in Sunbreak, though, they changed it, and it was weird because you had to do like this back hop thing and then charge forward, and it did a ton of damage. But it was kind of weird to me. I never really got into it. But in World and Iceborne, I loved it, but nobody wanted to see me play it because the playstyle's too simplistic. That's what they were saying. But me, I'm like, bro, you can dismantle a monster with this weapon. It's like, oh, I want to get the tail. I get the tail. I want to break his legs. Break the legs. Because you have surgical precision with the lance poke. It's so good. Yeah, I love it.
I remember when I was playing lance, my community would say, if you got to heal or put your shield away, you're playing wrong. So like the intensity is like staying in there and like getting those good blocks. And it's like, it's so fun. And I don't think enough people give it enough credit to how good that weapon is.
See, you can do that type of play style with wide shelling in Sunbreak. Because you can just go up to a monster, the intensity that you're talking about, because we get a special skill called, one of the switch skills called guard reload. So when we reload, it does this and it blocks. And so what you do is you go up to the monster and you just start shelling with wide shell, just like straight, no pokes, no, it's just like bang, bang. And then the monster's about to attack and you're like, guard reload. Bang, bang, guard reload.
God.
And you're just non-stop aggression. But this only works in Sunbreak. You can't do this type of, it's way harder to do something like this in World and Iceborne. But in Sunbreak, there were so many monsters that I would just straight up get in their face, just be like, bang, bang, block, bang, bang, block, just non-stop. It was the best thing. I loved it, but the damage kind of sucks eventually because that's the problem. There's a cap to your damage on Gunlance that you can't break that cap. So like, this is why shelling level is important because shelling level dictates how much damage you do and all of this stuff. And then eventually, and like your attack up, it doesn't benefit shelling. Criticals don't benefit shelling. None of these does anything for shelling. We only have artillery. That's it. It's artillery and the food buff and the shelling level. The Sunbreak actually added a couple of more things that I don't even think were intended, but somehow worked. Like for instance, the backstab attack thing.
Yeah.
For some strange reason, that thing works.
Really?
When we saw that work, we were all like, wait, it works? Because nothing ever works for shelling. So all the Gunlance mains were like, hey, we all needed to attack from the back now because
it works.
This is the only thing that gets us more shelling damage.
I love it. I love those moments where someone finds something and everyone's like, oh, this is it. We found it.
We found the thing. Oh, man. But there was so many crazy skills in Sunbreak. I actually hope that they bring it back down. Yeah. Like, you probably noticed in Generations Ultimate that we actually had less skills. In order for you to get, like, a specific skill, you'd need, like, a lot of... you need a big investment because, like, you need to bring this skill up to plus 10. Otherwise, you get nothing. Right?
Yeah, yes.
So I was actually hoping they would bring it back a little bit because in friggin' Sunbreak, we get 5 pages of skills.
That's where I feel like Sunbreak did a little too much.
Yeah.
And it was like way too many options. And it's like, first you're like, oh man, it's amazing. And you're like, whoa. And it keeps going and going and going. It's, oh, well, I would like a more concentrated.
Because like, if you think about it, right? If everybody, and if you grind enough, if everybody can have in their skills, Expert 7, Weakness Exploit, Critical Boost, attack up 7, agitator 5. Everybody can have this, and it's not even hard to get this, but everybody can get all of these skills in their set without even struggling too much. At that point, it's like, why do these skills even exist? Everybody has them. Everybody's using them.
Just make
They're
it a
meaningless.
base. It's so funny you say that because like in World, it would take so long. It'll take an investment to kind of get there. Versus
right up until Fatalis. Once you got to Fatalis, like now you have everything. Fatalis just broke the game.
It was like, final boss, here you go, take everything. Versus in Rise Sunbreak, got to a point where I was like, wait a minute, I got all my attacking skills max, and I have spot for like 5 more skills I can add on. Well, okay, I guess I'll put this on or put that on because everything's taken care of at that point. You're right. It's so easy to get access to everything.
It was actually interesting because the longsword needed a strange skill that I'd never seen used before almost in any weapon, which was speed sheeting. I was like, what a strange thing. Because you guys needed speed sheeting so that you could do the counters properly.
Oh my God. In the World, it was pointless. It literally did like, you sheet, it was the same thing. In Rise Sunbreak, the sheet's like, doop, 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 doop. Literally made, it was like, wow, this is, every longsword, you have to have that skill on there. Quick sheet. You don't even need to build anymore. Quick sheet counters were so like, also too it was harder in the World because if you miss your Iron Slash counter, you lost a level of gauge on longsword. Yep. Versus on Rise Sunbreak, you didn't. If you got it on time, you went up a level. So it was like, oh man, they really want us to use this. Let's use it as much as possible, which made the longsword insane in Sunbreak.
Now you know what you guys needed in Sunbreak? You guys needed a heat gauge. You ever heard of the heat gauge for the Gunlance Generations Ultimate?
Oh, what's the heat gauge? Explain.
So, in case you don't know, usually shelling values have almost the same damage value between games. So it's like, level 1 shelling is almost the same in all the games, so on and so forth. It's not exactly the same. The values change a little bit. But so when we went from 4 to Generations introduces the heat gauge. And what the heat gauge is something that whenever you shell, it increases the heat of the Gunlance. And then it gets to a point where it gets to red, which is optimal. I think red is the optimal one. And so you want to keep it in red, but you don't want to go above it. So you have to lock it by doing Wyvern Fire, which is the big explosion attack that the Gunlance does. And that would lock it in place. And then you would have your additional damage. This increases your melee damage of the Gunlance. But what they did was they nerfed the damage of the Gunlance by 20% from the previous game.
Oh my God.
And now you have to play this gauge nonsense to get the damage back.
Oh my God. So then took the damage away and give you this dance you gotta do.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. This is potentially one of the most punishing mechanics I've ever seen in Monster Hunter, which is if you go overboard on the heat, it locks you on the minimum value, so at like minus 20% damage for 2 minutes.
Oh my God.
So you're stuck at negative 20% damage for 2 minutes.
So you have to be like perfection with Gunlance to manage all the dances in order to do some damage. Is that what you're saying?
I mean, usually what...
Do not bring out the longsword. Do not do it.
No. I was going to say, usually what the really good players would do was they would actually just lock the gauge at the beginning. So they would just shell at nothing for a while and then lock the gauge and then go fight the monster. That's what people had to do.
People are always great at finding optimal ways to do everything.
Exactly. We optimize the fun out of games.
Always.
Oh, man. But I know that you're limited on time, so I'm just going to ask, what's the thing that you're most excited about Wilds?
For me, it has to be the crossplay. Just being able to play with everybody and just like, oh, what platform are you on? Just being able to get in there, people can play with each other. I feel like there's so many people that on my Discord and the comments, none of my friends play anymore. I don't want to play with somebody. And now it's like, hey, it doesn't matter where you're on, you can find someone to play with. So I think the gameplay, the game looks amazing. I'm excited. I trust that they're doing their magic with the game. But I think that aspect was like the biggest thing for me is like, oh man, being able to just connect. And also too, it would be cool if I had like bigger lobbies, but 16 is a good amount of people.
Yeah, so I'm hoping that the lobbies are still going to be 16, like in World Iceborne, or more, 16 or more. Initially I was like, oh, we'll see how this going back to 4 hunter lobbies, how that's going to work out. And after experiencing that again, I was like, no, we need to go back to 16
Yeah.
minimum.
Yeah.
It was so much better. Even just having people there, because I mean, I know that this is kind of like a content creator thing, but just being able to keep people there, because you know there's always people that want to play with you, and having to like manually rotate people out always feels weird, right? You're like, okay, now you need to get out of the lobby so that somebody else can. It always feels awkward kicking people out of your lobby.
Yes.
It's a weird thing. So it's like I want to have as many people as you can have in there so that people can be like cycling in and out and everybody joins in automatically. That is way, way better.
Yeah, people show their outfits, take a picture, posing, doing rock, paper, scissors. What was the game? Was there arm wrestling in the game too?
Yeah, that was arm wrestling, and there's always been arm wrestling in every game except Rise and Sunbreak. For some reason, they didn't bring arm wrestling back, because all the other older games, they also have arm wrestling.
See, that's my thing. I love the community aspect of the game. That's the most I'm excited for. How about you?
I'm excited for swapping the weapons. I mean, I'm also super excited for crossplay, but you already said that, so
we didn't even talk about that. Swapping the weapons.
Yeah, you can swap weapons, and they're saying that they're gonna have like some system in there that's gonna make it make sense, because like if you're using a longsword and then you want to use longsword and gun lance, your armor is not gonna make sense. So they're saying they're gonna have some type of system in there that is going to allow that to make sense, but they're not talking about what that system is yet, so we don't know what that is.
I saw your video.
Yeah.
I saw your interview, and they were like, oh yeah, there might be some things that might be incentive to do that.
Exactly, but they're not. They're very, playing their cards by their chest. They're not explaining it yet. Because to me, it was like, no, I think you should just. I don't think it even needs anything. I think you just need to compromise if you want to be able to use two weapons effectively. But the thing is, I use gun lance and charge blade, which share skills. So that's perfect.
You're like, let's go. I'm ready.
I'm ready. I don't need no system. This works fine.
Example, in your perfect world, it makes sense, but everybody else was suffering.
Listen, I suffer with the gun lance for so long. It's time y'all get a taste.
I love it. Yeah, a lot of people, a lot of thoughts. I think initially, when I first came out to it, I was like, well, longsword in Hunting Horn to buff me up and optimize my longsword, or like bowgun. And some people in the comments were saying they'll use two longswords or two great swords. I was like, okay. I think.
Go ahead.
It's just interesting to see what people are coming up with.
Yeah, I also thought about doing two gun lances, because one of the things that you might not know is that depending on the shelling style you go for, because there's wide shelling, long shelling, and normal shelling, the play style of the gun lance is actually very different. And so because of that, I could have like a wide shelling gun lance if I'm fighting a fast monster, because I can just go shell, poke, shell, poke. Or if it's a slower monster, I can go normal shelling, which is like boom, full burst, long combos, stuff like that. So that's also something that I can do, which is cool. But I'm thinking more gun lance and charge blade, because that way I get to play with two weapons. But yeah, playing with two weapons feels really fun. I think it'll be fun.
I think they went with the switch skills we had in Rise Sunbreak, the different styles of attacks you. Now they went full two weapons. It's interesting. Do you think they'll bring that back in? I don't know, we're running out of time.
If there's, I mean, I can keep going. This is on you. You're the one who has to stop because you have to go to work. Me, it's like 9 p.m. here. I'm fine.
All right, last one. Go ahead.
But like with crap, what was the question? Like I got derailed. You were asking me about what?
Was it two weapons? What were we saying? I got so excited now. Amazing.
No, we're talking about like the two weapons and swapping between gun lance, wide shelling.
Switch skills.
Oh yeah, switch skills. I actually think that switch skills is the coolest thing that they could take away from Rise and Sunbreak. That should be like a staple going forward, because I know that depending on the weapon that you have, because a lot of people have told me, oh man, for me, switch skills, I just, whenever I got the good one, I would use the good one and that was it. But for me with the gun lance, for all of the, issues that I have with balancing and all of that, the gun lance switch skills is actually really cool because they enabled completely different play styles. So like, for instance, we're talking about wide shelling. If you're doing wide shelling, the counter guard is really good. But if you're doing normal shelling, counter guard is not as useful, so you don't want counter guard because counter guard only reloads like 3 shells. So you want to have the quick reload that reloads all the shells for the big full bursts. So it was interesting seeing the moveset evolve as I was playing through the game, because I ended up using all of the skills multiple times through multiple builds. Even in Sunbreak, I was still using all of the switch skills depending on what I was doing. It was that good for the gun lance when it came to the switch skills, because like, oh, I can go and do like some crazy aerial gun lance thing, and then I use the hail cutter to reload midway through the air, which I could actually do that. Imagine what it's like. You're using your shells to fly, and then midway through the air, you reload into a full burst. It's insane.
I did see a bunch of videos of gun lance in Sunbreak. I was like, broken. I think it was one where this dude was flying across the map to fight, to hit Valstras out of the air with his moves.
Oh yeah, I hit a couple of monsters out of the air. It's super satisfying because you get aerial shelling. That came from GU actually. GU was the first one that introduced aerial shelling, which is a ton of fun. Because basically it's like you shell in the air and your character gets a little bit of a boost. So you're just like boom, boom. And you can just, if you do it fast, it's like when I did it the first time in the demo, I was like, wait, what? You can just spam shells and your character starts going up. It just starts going up.
Hey, I feel like gun lance is probably really, from your explanation, sounds like a very complex weapon. I didn't know it had that much level of detail to it.
It has a ton of stuff that you can do. But I actually think that, for instance, and a lot of people are going to be surprised, but I've said this in streams, I think that Sunbreak Longsword I thought was really complicated. Whereas, like, for instance, Rise Longsword, to me, that was super easy. And it was interesting because I didn't play Longsword. And I remember at one point people telling me, oh, you don't understand. It takes so much skill to do the counters. It's insane.
I remember this arc.
And you remember that video that I made?
Yeah.
I just make the video and I'm just like destroying that Apex Rathian like it's nothing. I'm like, bro, what are you talking about? It's hard to do four-side slash. I'll give you that 100%. Four-side slash, that's hard. But like, bro, yai counters, that shit is easy. That's the easiest shit in my life.
Yeah, that one got broken in Sunbreak. Absolutely.
Yeah, not a Sunbreak. Rise is when it was,
yes.
And Sunbreak was when you guys start getting the weird circle thing, and I was like, okay, what the hell is going on with this? This is some crazy shenanigans. Like you're looking at me talking about aerial shelling, and I'm like, bro, I don't know what you guys do in that circle of yours. I don't want anything to do with that.
So it was I forgot what it called, Harvest Moon. Oh yeah,
Harvest Moon.
That's where you get a little death circle, and you have to stay inside of there to do damage.
Yeah, I remember I tried doing that in Sunbreak, and I was like, I don't like this. This doesn't feel good. Like, whereas for instance, the yai counters, like I can do this all day, like not a problem in the world. But like the moment you're asking me, no, you got to stay inside this circle. The monster got to stay with you. I was like, nah, I don't like that. I mean, look, I have Blast Dash. I'm flying through the map. You're asking me to stay in this tiny circle?
Exactly.
No,
and the monsters just running around looking at you out of the circles. Oh my god.
Yeah, I can imagine. No, but it's a good time. So you're doing World now. I saw you stream World the other day. You're doing Greatsword?
Yeah, I did. It's funny because I went through I was doing hardcore, just kind of going through having fun. I started playing Greatsword. I was going through a longsword, and I feel like with longsword I'm not gonna die because we just play that weapon so many times. And Greatsword is a weapon I played in the past. I just had so much fun playing it because every time you play a new weapon, it makes it feel like a different game. Yeah, like just hearing you talk about gun lance, I'm like, did we play the same game? Exactly. It's just adds so much layers. So I'm really enjoying that. So I'm just gonna continue going through that. One thing they're asking me to play a lot is Hunting Horn. It's a weapon I've never played. So
Hunting Horn in World Iceborne?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really tough. It's hard. Like that was the hardest guide for me to do. And when I was recording footage for the guide, I was like, I'm not even good enough with this weapon to make a guide, I feel. So I was just trying to explain people how the moveset works, how to get different moves and all that. But I was like, but you guys got to figure out when to use these moves, bro.
I'm gonna give you the nuggets. You figure out how to use them.
I was trying to teach people like, listen, here's how you do this song. This song has like this double song thing. But like Hunting Horn was the hardest one for me. Like I think it was like 4 or 5 days straight of me just like playing Hunting Horn, just understand how the weapon works. I think it's a very complicated weapon in World and Iceborne. So yeah, but I think if you're liking Greatsword and people are telling you to play Hunting Horn, you should just play Hammer. Hammer's so much fun, dude.
You know, I loved Hammer. I really enjoyed Hammer.
Iceborne Hammer is like some of the most fun. You're just like, you do your thing, and then it's like Clutch Claw, and like, just like straight to the monster's face. It's so good. It's so satisfying.
I love that weapon.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell that that's the weapon that Ryozu mains, because it's always fun as hell to play. But yeah.
Yeah, they really juiced it up. Yeah,
but anyway, go ahead.
I was gonna say thank you so much for having me.
Oh no, I thank you for making the time. It's awesome. It was awesome. I've been meaning to talk to you for a while. So there's going to be links to Dear Gamer's stuff in the description. He's currently playing through Months on the World, checking out the Greatsword. What other content are you working on your channel?
Right now, before we get to Wukong, Black Wukong coming out this month.
Yeah,
I went back and checking out Seafood. I never got a chance to play it.
I played the game that they did before that. What was it?
Absolver.
Yeah, I played Absolver.
Yeah, very similar playstyle. So I was like, a lot of people say the gameplay is really good. So let me check it out. And it's been fun. It's kicking my butt, but I'm enjoying that. So I think I'll do a mini arc of that before Black Man comes out.
Yeah.
How about you? What are things you're working on?
I'm just doing Worlds in preparation for Wilds because I wanted to get my muscle memory because I'm going to Gamescom, so I'm going to play it there. So I want to get like everything.
Look at you. Okay.
So I wanted to get my muscle memory back so that when I get there, I'll instantly hopefully jump back in and kind of understand how things work, because, you know, getting muscle memory for Rise and Sunbreak and World and Iceborne is like two completely different games in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to get that done. So that's going to be it. I wanted to play Black Myth Wukong, but it releases on the same day I fly out. So I can only play it much later. So I have to wait on that one. But yeah, I'm also excited for Black Myth Wukong. So that's probably going to be the next thing after whatever coverage I'm doing on Wilds from Gamescom. Yeah.
I love that. I'm excited to see the content from Gamescom.
It'll be great. Well, thank you very much for making the time. Guys, if you guys enjoyed this episode of Kast, hit that like button, subscribe, bell notification, knock on all that jazz. Make sure to check out Dear Gamer, link in the description. And we'll see you guys in the next one. Stay strong, stay safe. Peace out.